Welcome to Buckets. My name is Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network, joined by my colleague, NBA futures analyst Brandon Anderson, for our season awards best bet edition. We're going to have three best bets from Brandon, three best bets from Joe Delera, and three best bets from me at the end of the show. Make sure that if you want to be able to track these, you can follow them in the award-winning Action Network app. The best way for you to track your picks. Get up to the second information on where the bets and money are coming in on. Our new media center has all of our live shows as well as all of our podcasts. There's just a ton of stuff in the app. If you're a bettor, it is indispensable. You will find use for the Action Network app, I promise you, with the NBA season starting here in just a few days. My voice is day to day. My voice is hour to hour. My voice is a game time decision right now. After a long battle with residual COVID effects, my children brought home a disease. And so my throat is really hanging on, but I've taken several lemon and honey coffee drops just to be ready for this pod with Brandon, as Brandon is going to give us his three futures best bets, which are sure to make my head explode. Brandon, let's not waste any time. What's your first awards best bet for the 2023 NBA season?
Yeah, I'll start with my favorite of the entire season, and that is Joel Embiid, 25-1 Defensive Player of the Year. So, Defensive Player of the Year, I just had an article going up today as we are recording on what this looks like. I was surprised, actually, as I dug into this. There are more predictive things than I thought that there could be. Obviously, defense is hard to predict. It's hard to quantify without the numbers. Pretty much we know you want the best defender on a great defense. Historically, you need almost guaranteed you need a top 5 defensive rating, probably a top 3 defensive rating. And we know usually a big man, even though Marcus Smart won it last year. What I found, though, is all defense and defensive player of the year voting has actually been very predictive as well. And that's good in Embiid's case because he has 3 times all defense. He was defensive player of the year runner-up in 2018. Basically, those are ways of quantifying, does the guy have the reputation to win the award? You have to establish the reputation first before the voters will credit you. So here's what I like about Joel Embiid beyond that. The Sixers spent their entire offseason building a defense around Embiid, Harden, and Maxey. They went out and got PJ Tucker, who I love, great defender. D'Anthony Melton, who's going to fit, I think, perfectly on this team as a complementary guy. Daniel House. They already have Matisse Thybulle, all defense himself the last couple of years. So there's a lot of help there. All of that is going to make Joel Embiid look better defensively. And Harden and Maxey should be very good offensively, which means a little bit less load on Joel Embiid, a little bit less chance for MVP, perhaps, if that's the case, but more energy to go back to some defense where he's admittedly has slacked a little bit in recent years. So I think this is a chance for Embiid to be the best and most important defender. That's the center. That's how it works in the NBA. And what I expect to be possibly the best defense in the league. And Embiid has been in MVP contention last couple of years, but never quite plays enough games to win it. I think this is a great chance for voters to say, you know what? Big guy needs an award. Let's give him the consolation award. Give him the defensive player of the year where games played isn't quite as important, kind of the career achievement sort of thing. It's a great chance for him to get an award. I like the Sixers. We both expect them to be in contention for the 1 seed. I think it'll be on the back of the defense, and this is a way to recognize a great defense. So Joel Embiid, 25-1 defensive player of the year.
I've gone back and forth on this. Thinking about it has worn me down enough to where I don't despise it like I did initially. Part of it is realizing that I can write 100 articles about how Embiid is a really good top level, but not elite defender. And it's not going to shift the perception amongst the voters. I might be able to shift a couple of them because they do pay attention to the work. Thankfully, I'm very grateful for that. It's just not going to fundamentally shake it. And nobody that can be an influencer is going to write hey, by the way, Joel Embiid's actually not that good at defense, which is not to say that he's not good. It's that he's not elite. The perception of him will be really good. You're right that the team defense will be really strong. I do wonder if he is good enough to win Defensive Player of the Year, if that doesn't just mean that there's going to be more of a, well, look, he's also averaging 28 per game, and the Sixers are the 1 seed, and he's the best defensive player. That sounds like an MVP to me. Yeah. I just kind of wind up thinking that you're right on the, let's throw the big guy a bone thing. But I think most of the voters, if they're likely to reward Embiid for this, are probably going to go the whole way and just be like, that's most valuable because he also does the offensive stuff. And that way that lets them reward some of these like specialized defenders, which is who it goes to. Non-offensive weapons, for the most part, wind up winning defensive player of the year. So not always, but sometimes. And so I think that there's risks there. I can't deny the value with the number that you're getting it at. He'll be in the discussion. Like, there's no chance that you bet on Joel Embiid now, and then no one's talking about Joel Embiid for defensive player when they make like a top 10 list in January. Like, he will at that point at least be in the conversation. Give me your second best bet for the futures market and the awards.
All right, I'm going to New York, and I am taking Jalen Brunson at 24-1 to win Most Improved Player.
Ooh.
So this was a bet that I loved the moment that Brunson went to New York, and he was the favorite in the summer. He was one of the top favorites on the board. Then the Donovan Mitchell trade rumors started happening, and everyone kind of forgot about Brunson, and it fell off the radar because we thought that Mitchell's going to come in and be the star. And then Brunson, how would he fit? And oh no, another usage guy. But that didn't happen. And now I think it's a perfect fit here where we have Brunson going from playing with Luka, the guy who is the single highest usage spot in the league. Instead, he's going to New York, where with Thibodeau, we know he's going to get heavy minutes. And we've seen a bunch of point guard scorers putting up numbers for Tibbs in the past. So we've seen proof of concept there. He'll get more minutes. He'll get more usage there. And we've seen this proof of concept before. Last year, Brunson went from 16-5 in the regular season. And then guess what? Luka was out. And what happened in the playoffs? First round, we get a 41-point game. We get 28 points a game almost from Brunson. So we saw that jump already. We saw 22 points a game for the whole playoffs. Again, proof of concept here. What you're looking for with Most Improved is a youngish player making the jump, usually from like 15-ish points a game to 22, 25, looking for like a 40 or 50% points a game increase. That's exactly what we saw from Brunson already last year in the playoffs. And I think it's really what we should expect here. 16-5. I think the expected outcome for Brunson is probably 22 or 23 points a game, 7 assists. The improvement is baked in already with the bigger role he's going to get. Brunson is a year older than my pattern that I would love for this range to get an ideal spot here. But we know, too, we need a guy that's probably going to make the playoffs. We need a guy that's going to be an all-star. Brunson in New York, I think, is very much, at least in the play-in mix in the new NBA. I think that counts. And because he's playing in New York, we get all the extra narrative built in. All the media is going to want to talk about Brunson when inevitably the first few weeks of the season going to have some huge game and immediately come one of the front runners in this race. And then he's going to get that bump all year as a possible all-star. Oh, playing for his dad, and that's the Knicks, and oh, they're back again. They're playing for the playoffs. And I think he gets into that mix as an all-star like Randall did, maybe even a fringe all-NBA like Randall's getting votes. So I like Jalen Brunson here. I think he should be one of the favorites. I love him at 24-1.
What's the number?
24.
24-1. Okay. So the books will inherently anchor towards the preseason estimation, especially on these type of players, right? It's an unstable award. Jeremy Grant was like, oh yeah, Jeremy Grant's going to win. Jeremy Grant did not win. So I think that there's good value here. I think taking this position and being like, this is a very Brandon bet, right? Like, this is super on brand, 24-1. I still think you can probably get double digits, 12-15 by December when the first All-Star ballots come out. We talked a lot about that when we did the pod, was when those first All-Star ballot returns come out, you'll be able to tell who's looking like a starter and who's generating at least some interest. And if the conversation is like Jalen Brunson's got to be on the All-Star team, whether he's a reserve or a starter, right? Starter would be a wild occurrence. But if that's the case, then there's definitely value there. But I will wait to bet Brunson. I have my own hill, which we'll talk about later on Most Improved. But for absolutely maximizing value relative to position, like I've thought about Brunson, I can't get there because I just don't think he's good enough. Like, it's not that I don't think Jalen Brunson's really good. I think he is. but this is a wild position to be like, Jalen Brunson's our franchise. That's a wild thing to say. And I don't know how that's going to go. So I'm going to wait, but that doesn't mean I'm going to bet later. And if I do, Brandon's going to have a much better number. What's your last best bet for us for futures?
I know you love this one because we already kind of went here on the long shots episode. I'm going to ride with Norman Powell, 27-1 for sixth man of the year. See, I knew you would love this one. So again, I'm all about the profiles on these. The profile is really easy for sixth man of the year. We just need a gunner. We need a bench gunner come in and score some points. But the profile says 16 points a game. Okay, we know that. That's what we need. Probably more like 18.4 the last 5 years is the points per game. But we also need someone on a playoff team, usually a 50-win team. Last 10 years, our sixth man of the year has had 48 wins or more and played in the playoffs, all but one of those. So that actually narrows the field pretty drastically. There are not a lot of 48-plus win teams that have a 16 points a game score off the bench. The Clippers are going to win that many games. We agree on that. Norman Powell is coming off the bench. We know that now. Marcus Morris is going to be the starter, according to Clippers media. Norman Powell's going to score. That's literally what he's in the NBA to do, is come off the bench and get buckets. That is this award. Come off the bench and get buckets. We don't care if you're efficient. We don't care if you pass or rebound or play defense. Just who scores a lot off the bench. The Clippers have had 3 of the last 5 sixth men of the year. This is like the award that you give this franchise. Norman Powell, last 3 seasons, 16 points a game in 28 minutes. Then he bumped up to 32 minutes the last couple of years, and he went to 18.5 and then 19 points a game. Only 5 games with the Clippers last year, but he was over 21 points a game there. He's going to score a lot of points. That's his role on this team. There are going to be nights where he gets even bigger points because PG sits or because Kawhi sits. I don't like the favorites for this award. I think Tyler Hero maybe ends up starting. I think Jordan Poole could end up qualifying for starting depending on who sits on that team, and we don't know what's happening with Poole and the Warriors right now. I think this is a very open race. I would put Norman Powell as the favorite. I think he should be the favorite. I think this number is ridiculous. I think he is a perfect candidate for this award. I love him at 27-1. Bet at 35-1 in the summer. It is quickly falling. You should grab it right away.
I hate this bet. I hate this bet. I hate this bet. You may be right. It will still be a bad bet. I don't care. This is not the right team. This is not the right guy. I have no idea why everyone thinks this way. But that's Brandon Anderson. Brandon, thanks for joining us. And your best bets, of course, will continue to get CV. Thanks.